Hello guys, it's your boy Nattle. So today I will be making a full complete sub-rogue guide for BFA in preparation of Uldir and Mythic Plus coming out on Wednesday. I'm really excited to make this video. I know you guys have been waiting for it, so here it is. Alright guys, so first off let's talk about talents. So before I go into individual talents, I would like to discuss the widespread misinformation that is currently occurring in the rogue community. Where every guide is basically forcing Find Weakness and Marked for Death down your throat as the best single target build. But that is simply not the case. Weapon Master and Deeper Stratagem together are actually better, and I'm going to explain to you why. So first, the very basics of this, the very core fundamentals of this spec is that Weapon Master and Deeper Stratagem are both passive abilities. They do not require any extra buttons, they do not require any extra thought, they just occur, right? So, of course, if a passive can pull similar damage to an on-use effect, then the passive is going to be better because of human error. That's something that does not exist in simulations. Human error is something that everyone has to a certain extent. To some degree, everyone makes mistakes. So if you make a mistake playing Weapon Master Deeper Stratagem, it doesn't even matter. You don't even notice it really. But when you make a mistake with Find Weakness or Marked for Death, it is very noticeable in your damage. So that makes this spec a lot more new player friendly. It makes Sub-Rogue less clunky as a whole and a lot easier to play, especially for new players. But I'd also like to explain to you why this is the best damage single target build for even high skill players like myself. I would consider myself a high skill player at this point. This spec actually sims better if you have multiple traits of Blade in the Shadows or Inevitability. Blade in the Shadows is this trait. I will go over all the traits later in the video. But yeah, if you have those traits, then this spec actually sims better. But even if you don't have them, this spec will sim slightly worse, within 100 DPS of the other spec. But you have to consider that it is not only the max damage number that matters, because in simulations, not only is human error not accounted for, but also the simulations do not account for boss mechanics. In the simulations, it's a patchwork fight where nothing happens during the entire fight. But with Find Weakness and Marked for Death, you have to take into account boss tactics. You have to, okay, I can't hit the boss for a while, so then Find Weakness is gonna be it's gonna be a lot harder to manage Find Weakness, because what if the boss goes immune, or the boss disappears, or you get a debuff, you have to run away from the boss during your Find Weakness. If that happens, you lose so much more than if you were playing Weapon Master Deeper Stratagem, because if you're playing with the passive talents, then you can just go straight back to DPSing. But if you're playing Find Weakness and Marked for Death, it really impacts your DPS quite heavily. So these are some of the basic, very core reasons why this is better. And also I'm going to show you on the screen right now that it actually sims better for me right now. So that's another reason to play it. So here you go. This is the two different builds. The first one, as you can see, Weapon Master Deeper Stratagem, and Find Weakness Marked for Death. So it actually sims better if you have the right traits, and even if you don't have the right traits and it sims worse, you can't only think about the max damage numbers. This is where most people making guides go wrong, because they just look at what does the most damage in the simulations, and that's what they go with. But they don't take into account human error, they don't take into account boss mechanics, they don't take into account new players of different skill levels. Maybe everyone is not fit to play Find Weakness because it's too hard to learn. I have a lot of people come to me and they're saying, yeah, Sub-Rogue is so hard right now. And I'm like, no, it's really not. You're just being misled by other people. So that's that. That's that out of the way. This is the best spec. I'm gonna go over all the individual talents now. Let's go. So Weapon Master in the first tier, as I just explained, for single target. I even picked this for Mythic Dungeons, as I like to have a little bit more damage on on like the dual packs, like the 2-3 mobs and stuff like that, because I don't start Fan of Knifing until I have 3 mobs at least. So this is very good for 2 mobs and then bosses, of course, and big mobs, whatever. So I really like this Weapon Master talent, even in dungeons, and Find Weakness honestly does not give very much. So you have to keep it up in combat, right? When you're AoEing, keep it up on your main target that you're eviscerating, and you get maybe 3k or something damage per eviscerate doing this. So it's not really worth the effort, in my opinion. You're better off going Weapon Master because you need to kill the bosses, you need to kill the mobs of 2 and stuff like that. And now with Mythic Plus coming out especially, I would prefer this talent because the mobs are gonna live longer. There's gonna be more big mobs that you need to kill. So you can't just mindlessly AoE all the time. Then in the second tier, I pick Shadow Focus. We want to be able to cast a lot of stuff in our Shadow Dance, especially with the Blade of Shadow talent that buffs our Shadow Strike. We definitely want to be able to do more Shadow Strikes to stack up our buff quicker, and also that's going to do more damage. Since more casts with the buffed, that gives 3k for every Shadow Strike, you're going to get more damage out of that than you would getting the Night Stalker. Even if you don't have the traits, you need this talent, otherwise the spec is going to feel really slow for you and it's going to be really annoying. For the third tier, I picked Deeper Stratagem for both AoE and single target, as I've just explained why that is better. Vigor really doesn't have a place for us right now. It's not very strong, and Marked for Death is just... It's good for leveling, I guess. That's about it. For the fourth tier, I pick Sheet Death because sometimes I stand in bad stuff and I die, and I like to not die, so that's why I have this. That's pretty basic. For the fifth tier, I picked Night Terrors for an extra slow to help the tanks kite in dungeons. The Shuriken Storm reduces enemies' movement speed by 30%. If there are adds that you can stun, you can play with Prey on the Weak. Gives you 10% more damage, but it's not really worth it because using a full combo point Kidney Shot for 10% more damage, you could have just used the full combo point Eviscerate instead and done more damage. So that's why I picked Night Terrors in pretty much everything. These 2 last tiers is where the talents change a little bit depending on what you're doing. So if you're playing single target, you want to play Enveloping Shadows and Master of Shadows. Enveloping Shadows reduces the cooldown of your Shadow Dances even further when you spend combo points, and Master of Shadows gives you energy every time you enter stealth or activate Shadow Dance. So these 2 work really well together. Like this one gives more Shadow Dances and this one gives more energy during your Shadow Dances. So these ones work really well together for single targets. That's why they're the best option. For AoE, I like to pick Dark Shadow and Secret Technique. That's because Dark Shadow makes your Shadow Dance increase all damage you deal by 25%, and then Secret Technique is a burst AoE. So you can imagine if you use these 2 together, then you're gonna do a lot of damage in AoE. Especially on packs that don't die that die kind of fast, you know, like they have been in Mythic Dungeons and in Heroics and stuff like this. This is a really good combination. So that's basically it for talents, guys. So this is gonna be my AoE spec. This is gonna be the spec I play in Mythic, Mythic Plus, that is. And in Raiding, I'm just gonna switch out these last 2, and this is the spec I'm gonna play in Raiding. As I said, I keep Weapon Master even on AoE because I like to have it for when there's 2 mobs and when there's a boss and stuff like that. I like to have Weapon Master. I don't feel like keeping up Find Weakness in AoE is really worth it. It doesn't give you that much compared to what you're putting in. Alright, so let's go over Azerite traits. So first we'll start with the outer ring, the major traits as I'd like to call them. These are the first traits you get in an item. So as you can see here, Blade in the Shadows is at the top, then comes Sharpened Blades, and then comes Thunder's Blast. You have to keep in mind that the green color is 1 stack of the Azerite trait, white is 2 stacks, and blue is 3 stacks. So the power of, for example, Sharpened Blades really changes. So unless you can get more than 1, you see this is not very good at 1 stack, but it becomes really good at 2 stacks. So you don't wanna use this if you can only get 1. Then you wanna pick other options. Blade in the Shadows is the best one when it comes to single trait, and then comes Thunderous Blast, then comes Inevitability. But the thing with Inevitability, that it's so close to Thunderous Blast, and with Weapon Master, I would actually say Inevitability is better than Thunderous Blast. So the 2 traits you want to aim for in your gear is Blade in the Shadows and Inevitability while playing the Weapon Master single target spec. When it comes to AoE, I don't really want to encourage you to change your talents or change your traits, because in Mythic Plus you won't be able to change them. And you really want to be able to hit the bosses hard, because you're quite bursty class, and having that extra Shadow Strike damage is really beneficial to you, as like 30% of your damage is Shadow Strike. And with Weapon Master especially, this is really the go-to for everything, even AoE. So we'll go on to the minor traits, which is the like inner ring. When it comes to these are not really something you want to focus on that much. These just happen to be on your gear, so you want to pick Blade in the Shadows, and then you go to this list. I will link both of these lists down below, by the way. So you pick Blade in the Shadows, you go to this list, you look which one do I have, which one is the best, and then you pick, for example, Earthlink, if that's the best one you have on your item. So these are not something you aim for or try to farm or something like that. You just farm Blade in the Shadows, and then you pick whatever minor trait that is the best for you. When it comes to Trinkets, this is the list we want to follow. Just before we go into this, the green color is 325, which is heroic level. The white color is 340, which is regular mythic level. Then blue is 355, which is the max level you can have right now on any item. So we can see here that the Darkmoon deck Fathoms is a clear winner in blue here at 355. This is definitely your go-to trinket. You want to buy this. If you haven't already, you want to make sure you get this before Older comes out. It's an amazing trinket. It's gonna give you a lot of damage if you don't have it already. And then we can see that the Gale Caller's Boon is the second best at 355. So this, if you get lucky and get this at 355, it's a really insane trinket. But the trinket that I currently run is this one, Landoy's Scrutiny. It's a BOE trinket, and I have this at 350 with a socket. That would equal about 355 eye level, maybe slightly better because of how valuable sockets are to most classes right now. So this trinket is actually better than a 340 Gale Caller's Boon, and it can probably compete with the 351. But yeah, 355 Gale Callers would be the ideal. But I don't have that. I haven't got lucky with that, so that's how it is. So that's why I decided to get this trinket instead. But here you can see all the trinkets. If you're wondering which trinket should I use, which trinket do I have, and stuff like that, then you can look at this list. And keep in mind, green is 325, white is 340, and blue is 355. And your best in-slot trinkets are Darkmoon deck Fathoms, together with the high eye level Gale Caller's Boon from Shrine of the Storms. Alright, now we're going to talk about races. When it comes to races currently in World of Warcraft, there's no race that's really a lot better than another race, so you don't really need to pay attention to it. You should play what you enjoy. The reason I went Blood Elf after playing Undead for a while was because I want the racial for Mythic Plus. Blood Elf has a really good racial right now. I know it got nerfed from the Interrupt, but they got given an AoE Purge instead. So I believe that Blood Elf remains the best race for Mythic Plus, at least Horde side, because there's some mobs that have a magic debuff in Shrine of the Storms and also in King's Rest. There are some mobs there that have like 1 HP and they have a debuff instead of their health. That's like a shield or something. So if you purge those, then they instantly die. So you can clear like an entire pack of like 20 small mobs with just using your racial. So that's why I've got this racial, because I really want to push Mythic Plus, and I feel like I want that racial to do it. It's not a requirement at all. As you can see, all the DPS classes are within like 200 DPS of each other, even less than that. So you can really play whatever you want. Just because Pandaren is on the top of this list does not mean that you have to play Pandaren. You can just as well play Undead, for example, as Horde, and do exactly the same damage. Really, like, it's gonna be a very, very minuscule difference that you will never notice in actual gameplay. So, summarize, it's just go for whatever you feel like playing. Just play whatever you want. Don't care about the numbers. You can look at racials and stuff, like, yeah, maybe I want an AoE stun, maybe I want more health, maybe I want something like that, but like, when it comes to damage, it's a really, really small difference. Alright guys, so when it comes to stats, our stats are really simple, but before I go into my stats, I would like to recommend to you that you watch my video on simming your character. I have a video on my channel, the last video I made, and there you can get all the information on how to get your own stat weights like I have here. But I also can appreciate that some people just want to know what kind of stats to aim for. So if you're a casual player and just want to know what stats to aim for, I would go for crit above all, then versatility. Here you can see versatility slightly higher than crit, but you can't, like, when it's this little of a difference, you don't really pay attention to it, because these values change depending on your values on your character. So you just want to go for like any piece that has crit or versatility on it is a good item for you. Alright guys, let's talk about single target rotation. So with this new spec, Weapon Master, Deeper Stratagem, everything is really simple. All you need to do is think about when you use your Shadow Dances. So you only want to use your Shadow Dances during your Shadow Blades and your Symbols of Death. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna hold on to these Shadow Dances that you get over time and only use them during your cooldowns. That's the only rule to Sub-Rogue. So now I will show you me DPSing the dummy, and I will talk over it like I usually do and explain to you what I'm doing to try to give you a good picture. I will also put on the screen what to think about and what I'm doing basically. So let's get into that. Alright, so before we even go in, we pop Shadow Blade. Since that's on the global cooldown now, we pop that before going in. We go in with Shadow Strike into Night Blade. You want a Night Blade, whatever combo points you get, even if it's 3 combo points. After that, you jump into Shadow Dance, Symbols of Death, you start Shadow Striking the mob. If you get 6 combo points with your Shadow Strike, you can eviscerate right away. Otherwise, you want to go for Shadow Strike, eviscerate, Shadow Strike, Shadow Strike. That's your 5 globals, since it's 5 seconds of Shadow Dance. So that's what you want to do there. Then you just want to refresh your Night Blade. It's important to not let that drop off, because that's 15% damage. Then you can just keep DPSing for a while, and as you can see, I stopped using my Shadow Dances when I got out of Shadow Blades, since I'm saving those for my next Symbols of Death that is gonna come up here pretty soon. So outside of your cooldowns, you just keep using your, eviscerating, keep backstabbing. Then you wanna make sure you refresh your Night Blade before you go into Symbols of Death. I don't do it here, and that was a mistake. But you can also do it during your Symbols of Death, but you lose 1 Shadow Strike doing that. So it's a DPS loss, but it's not a huge deal if you mess it up. And you can fit in 2 Shadow Dances in pretty much every single Symbols of Death, as long as you don't waste them outside of your Symbols of Death or your Shadow Blades. But other than that, that's pretty much the rotation right there. You backstab to eviscerate, you keep your Night Blade up. When you get your cooldowns up, you do Shadow Strike, eviscerate, Shadow Strike inside of the Shadow Dance. If you get a 6 combo point Shadow Strike, then you can eviscerate right away. But you have to be pretty quick with that, because if you wait too long, if you wait like a global, then you lose another Shadow Strike. So you need to be really quick with like seeing how many combo points I got and then acting upon that. Alright guys, so when it comes to AoE, I'm first going to explain to you a simple few set of rules that you want to follow, and then I'm going to show you actual DPS in action. So how you want to use your cooldowns is that you want to use your Shadow Dance to get the 25% damage from Darkstorm. Then you want to use your secret technique during that 25% increase every single time. You also want to try to line up your symbols of death together with your Shadow Dance and secret technique to get a bigger burst of damage from the secret technique. I also use my Shuriken Storm out of stealth because and in Shadow Dance obviously. So you want to keep your Shadow Dances rolling because, as you can see here, damage increased by 50% when Stealth or Shadow Dance is active. So it's a big benefit of using Shuriken Storm inside of Shadow Dance. So you definitely want to try to enter Shadow Dance with as much energy as you can, so you can really get those Shuriken Storms out. So that's something you want to do, and you never want to use Shadow Blades on a big AoE pack. You want to save it for those 1 to 3 mobs, and of course the bosses. You want to make sure you have it for every single boss, and if you can fit it in somewhere else, then you want to have it on mob packs that have 1 to 3 mobs. We're going to be seeing those a lot more in Mythic Plus, now that the mobs will hit harder and everything like that, so that's really cool. Something I really enjoy about Sub-Rogue AoE is that they can pick a target that they want to kill first in the pack, and they can do a lot of damage to it. It's kind of like, it kind of fits like the class fantasy, you know, like a rogue picking out a target in a group and just like absolutely destroying that one target. So that's kind of how it works, which is really good for Mythic Plus in my opinion. I think that even makes Sub-Rogue a necessity almost for Mythic Plus running, because you can kill the most important, like you might not do the most damage. I think Outlaw and a few other classes does more AoE damage, but I can pick out like a healer in a pack, for example, or let's say the Templars in Shrine of the Storm that give like the aura that like makes everyone around them kind of unkillable. You can pick out that one target and kill it very quickly. So that's gonna benefit your Mythic Plus group a lot. So that's pretty much what you want to think about. So now I'm going to show you the rotation in action and talk over it like I usually do. Alright, so I'm going to Shadow Step in, Shuriken Storm, get 6 combo points, pop Shadow Dance, Symbols, and then Secret Technique. That's gonna give me the most burst. Gonna keep Shuriken Storming, get the Nightblade up. Then I'll keep Shuriken Storming some more, pop my second Shadow Dance, and start eviscerating. That's basically the opener right there. You want to make sure you're eviscerating the target that you have Nightblade on. You keep doing this until your cooldown of Secret Technique resets. Then you use Shadow Dance together with Secret Technique to get the most damage, and that circle basically continues throughout the whole fight. You're basically waiting for Secret Techniques to come up again. You use Symbols to get energy and to do some more damage with Secret Technique. You want to try to line them up but not hold it for too long. As you can see, I'm not using my Shadow Blade since this is 4 targets. I only use my Shadow Blades on 1 to 3 targets, but yeah. AoE as a Sub-Rogue is pretty straightforward. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it and that I answered most of your questions. If you do have any more questions, however, please come by twitch.tv/Nattle and I will be happy to answer your questions there. Other than that, thanks for watching guys. See you next video.